Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everybody is doing well today. Just another bloody trip to the job centre, and I've got another one tomorrow. Like, God forbid I get a break from that bloody place. But of course, you didn't come here to learn about my daily struggles with that god-awful place. No, I want to talk today about what's been happening with Just Stop Oil. Or is it Just Stop Foiled? Because it turns out there was a couple of YouTubers who decided they were going to basically act as a couple of heroes as far as Just Stop Oil is concerned. We all know that Just Stop Oil have been a massive pain in the arse as far as blocking roads is concerned. But we ended up having a group of people come out with similar orange shirts as to these wankers who constantly break the highway code, and on their shirts, instead of Just Stop Oil, it quite aptly and quite appropriately says just stop pissing everyone off. But what did they do to warrant me applauding their actions is the £1,000,000 question that everyone's asking. And that is simply, they decided to get these clowns out of the road, kettle them onto the pavement, and basically hold them on the pavement. They were free to leave at their own will, by the way, which is what I think Archie was one of the guys' names. Is what Archie had basically said to them. He said, and I quote, "You are not being held against your will. You are free to leave at any time." So he's basically making it clear. Oh, and after that he also said, just as long as you stop pissing people off. So they're not exactly, I don't know, holding them in a cell and saying, you can stay here until you rot. No, they are quite free to leave as long as they're going to stop blocking the roads for motorists. And as said before regarding Just Stop Oil, basically it's illegal to block a public motorway. Even more so if it's an ambulance. And bear in mind, these shitbags have already been responsible for a few people dying, and hell, they even managed to get a few horses killed as well, bear in mind. And of course it starts raining now at the most inconvenient fucking time. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, a lot of what Just Stop Oil are doing is unequivocally illegal. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this, because, say it with me folks, it doesn't suit the narrative. Because that is the thing. They are all for climate change and all that other malarkey, but what they aren't for is other people clearly going out of their way to stop these motherfuckers from doing their job. Stop these motherfuckers of Just Stop Oil, rather, from doing what they shouldn't be doing. Like, where are the real other heroes? Like, the police should be doing their damn job, and for the most part, they aren't. God forbid I get a day out of this weather, eh? Anyway, the point I'm trying to make about Just Stop Oil is that I'm glad that some people had the brass balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, and actually stop these people from doing what they're doing. The police should have done this several years ago. Bear in mind, the Just Stop Oil are part of the same group as Extinction Rebellion. And Extinction Rebellion have a track record for criminal damage and illegal activities. They're also the people who brought about Insular Britain. The same people that people like Ollie Rock was a part of. Is it raining still? Yes, it is, unfortunately. Get a few thousand more drops on my glasses. Anyway, they were responsible for just Insular Britain, who were the same people that, when Crowdfunder got on the case, because there was a crowdfunder raised to support Insular Britain, i.e. Extinction Rebellion, and basically crowdfunder closed down this crowdfunder, which had gotten to nearly £60,000. I think it was like 57,000, maybe 58, give or take a couple. But they shut it down, and the exact reasons they gave specifically was that they suspected they were committing criminal activities with that money. God, just look at it out there. Like, fuck hell. I could almost take my clothes off and have a shower in that. Of course, I'm not going to, for the safety of everyone else. Anyway, what ended up happening as well was one Ollie Rock ended up starting a crowdfunder himself when he was caught out illegally. I think he was blocking the roads alongside these wankers. Yeah, I think he was up on the M25, if I recall correctly. And there were some people on that road, if you recall, who were actually walking into oncoming traffic. Which, not only is that against the highway code, you're endangering lives, you are putting other people's lives at risk, you're potentially bringing out emergency services because you're basically doing something stupid, so you're wasting their time as well when you could just simply do something else in protest. And bear in mind, they're all doing this because they want to stop oil and gas. And as I remember saying, whilst I was still working at an organisation that decided they were going to discriminate against me, but that's another story. I also remember mentioning that in order for us to not use oil or to not use gases, we would have to be out in the fields naked. Oh my God. Actually, I had a couple of people come out talking about hearing aids and what have you. Probably I should get some myself in case my ears get waxed up again. Anyway, what I was trying to say was that Ollie Rock and a group of people were also arrested as part of Insular Britain, Extinction Rebellion, whatever you want to fucking call them, basically breaking the highway code and endangering lives, to which the emergency services would obviously have had to have come out to deal with these guys. But of course, as we all know, the police didn't do diddly fucking shit about Insular Britain and Just Stop Oil. They didn't do jack about them as far as I'm concerned. Thankfully, they only finally did something by charging them with breaching an injunction. So they gave them one charge instead of like 3 or 4, which is what all of them should have faced, by the way, because they're endangering lives, breaking the highway code, breaching an injunction, and wasting police time with trite like this, which they shouldn't have to come out and do. And then Ollie Rock, when he went to prison for, I think it was like 6 to 9 months or something, off the top of my head, I can't remember, he set up a crowdfunder. He's got his family to set up a crowdfunder for him to pay for his rent while he was in prison. And what's funny is I did actually put £1 to this contribution, but I only did it to say that he is breaking the law and that he is not entitled to a single fucking penny. And I say that because what was the one thing I mentioned a few minutes ago? The crowdfunder website stopped a crowdfunder because they were worried of people in Insular Britain committing illegal activities. And here we have, beyond and to the inclusion of every reasonable doubt, because the motherfucker was convicted, he was committing criminal activities, and they're allowing him to get money for breaking the law, basically, to cover his ass for his mistakes because he didn't want to go to prison. Well, you know what they say, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. But as said, the mainstream media won't tell you this. Like, they won't tell you anything about this. And for good reason, because it doesn't suit the narrative. These are the kinds of people that Extinction Rebellion / Insular Britain / Just Stop Oil / any other fucking organisation that comes out next. There we go. any organisation that comes out next is basically trying to do. Like, they're disrupting the country. They're not getting people on their side. They're alienating people. And yet, we have a justice system and a police force that is so corrupt and so crooked that allow people like this to get money. Now, okay, he's not exactly going around committing acts. Well, actually, no. Yes, he is committing acts of terrorism. In fact, that's what all of these fuckers are doing. Domestic terrorism. I said it before. Insular terrorists. Just stop terrorists. All of these people are basically committing domestic terrorism. There may not be any guns, there may not be any knives, there may not be any cars. Ironically, they're stopping the bloody cars. And there may not be any bombs. But it doesn't change the fact they are committing terrorism. Just not in the usual sense. And just so people know that I'm not full of shit, I know this is going to be in reverse, but just stop foiled. And I'm now going to be reading the article in question. But what I mentioned, please bear this in mind. As I said, Just Stop oil, are part of the same group, Extinction Rebellion. So, reading from this article, word for word. Just Stop Oil activists causing traffic chaos were finally halted by counter-protesters surrounding them with a human chain. The groups, wearing look-alike orange shirts but with the slogan, "Just Stop Pissing Everyone Off," foiled the demo at Elephant and Castle in London. Much better. Putting the fan on so I can cool down a little bit. Anyway, what I was trying to also mention was, Castle in London, they kettled bewildered oil group members off the road onto the pavement. In bizarre scenes, one JSO member used a megaphone to tell their captors, and I quote, "We know disruption isn't comfortable, but it's necessary," end quote. I am going to interject here and say, yes, some types of disruption are necessary, is necessary, whatever grammar you wish to fucking use. But there's a difference between civil disruption, where you are doing things by the book and within the boundaries of the law, and you're doing what you can to disrupt the country. And then there's illegal disruption, where you are pissing people off by, i.e., blocking the roads so people can go nowhere, who just want to do like their morning shifts, take their kids to school, get to work, without things getting caught in my throat, make deliveries, that kind of thing. That kind of shit where you are blocking the roads and breaking the highway code, that is not necessary. In fact, if anything, it's self-harming, bluntly speaking. Like, and I say that in the sense of their reputation, not that they have much of a fucking reputation now at this point, because everyone pretty much bloody hates them. But back to the point. The woman who called herself, turning the page, please bear with me, Thea, said she was from Canada and had family in the south of France too. She gestured to them, adding, "We meet this circle of people around us and we agree about the same things, except we have a sense of urgency." Here's the thing. Urgency can be good or bad if your priorities are put in the wrong bloody place. Do you know what really is fucking urgent, though? Being able to find a cure for cancer. Being able to end HIV and AIDS. You know, really deadly things that could kill us all in due time. Or at least kill a considerable population. There is not much we can do about the climate change at this point. I mean, if anybody's heard about that bullshit malarkey about net zero, people will know exactly what I mean here. Because People are in the mainstream media are even giving fraudulent slips as far as net zero is concerned. Moving on, though. The new group was later revealed to be led by YouTube pranksters, and unfortunately the Metro actually gave out their full names, which they shouldn't be fucking doing. Because I guarantee you this much, if these two were Muslim people, I guarantee you they would not be revealing their full names. Because right now, by doing this, in a sense, they could have put these two people in danger. But I'm sure you'll be able to look up Just Stop Foiled. And it's led by YouTube pranksters Archie and Josh. I'm not going to say their surnames because I'm pretty sure if you do a search on Google or search on YouTube or whatever, you'll be able to find these people. Masked Archie assured her, and I quote, this was what I was trying to quote earlier, but I couldn't remember it off the top of my head. "We're not holding you hostage. You're welcome to leave at any point. We just want to stop oil pissing people off." End quote. In fact, no, there's actually a bit more to this. I didn't actually read this properly. "There's an election this time next year. If you don't like this government, why don't you stand for election?" End quote. They later insisted counter-protesters dispersed after activists, quote, explained the reasoning for demanding an end to new oil and gas. At a summer of protests at events such as the Proms, Wimbledon, the Ashes, and the Chelsea Flower Show, this week's roads protests have caused huge public frustration. I think it's more along the lines of huge public outrage, not frustration. Frustration is like, oh, fuck, I stubbed my toe. That's frustrating. Or that really fucking hurts, probably, if it was me. But I would not call people disrupting fucking sporting events or major shows, I would not call that public frustration. I would call it huge public outrage. Actually say it for what it is, Metro. You sacks of fucking shit. Anyway, moving on. On Tuesday, and I believe this was actually last week. Yeah, because this is dated the 21st of June. Don't get me started about the Barbie Oppenheimer crap. Anyway, on Tuesday, Metro told how a car user pushed a group of protesters off the street at one of 15 slow marches in the capital. A day later, another was floored and kicked on the ground after the protest was blamed for a car crash with a pregnant woman inside. I will get back to that later. Daniel Knorr, 21, said he had no ill will towards his alleged attacker. Somehow I find that hard to believe, to be brutally honest. I think he's just saying that to make it look like they were the victims here. They're not victims, they're terrorists. Amid at least 5 more marches yesterday, a bus driver was filmed gently nudging protesters with his vehicle while one pensioner at Stratford yelled "stupid idiots" at them. I think he's being quite nice, to be honest. I can think of a few other expletives, which I've already thrown out in this bloody video, that I could throw at these pricks. I really could. The groups also sprayed government buildings in Whitehall. Energy Security Secretary Grant Shapps condemned the illegal criminal damage. Hopefully that doesn't blow away. Anyway, let me get back to the point that was said in the paper about the pregnant woman who was involved in a car crash. Can you understand why someone would want to beat the living shit out of Daniel Knorr at this point? Can you understand why people would, quite rightly, start violently attacking these people for causing potentially serious injury to a fucking pregnant woman? The child could have been fucking killed. Let me put it that way. The child could have been killed on the back of these dickheads blocking the road. If that is not enough to incite violence against these people, which I don't condone, let me be clear on that. I do not condone violence on these people, but I completely understand why people would be pushed to want to beat the shit out of them. Hell, I'd probably do the same fucking thing if I was in that attacker's shoes. I'd probably want to absolutely destroy those people for endangering that child. This is a fucking child that hasn't been born yet, that was nearly killed on the back of these people's actions. They have no sympathy whatsoever for these people. They have no sympathy for a pregnant woman and a child being involved in a crash. They have no sympathy. And anybody who dares to say that they have some semblance of empathy or sympathy for these people, I would declare full of shit, and I would want them to get a checkup from the neck up. It pisses me off when I see stories like this. Horses dying, pregnant women in a crash, child nearly dies before even being given birth to, because of these retards, because that's what they are, fucking retards, who think it's okay to endanger people's lives, break the Highway Code Act, and continue to screw over ordinary British people. People have lost potential jobs because of them. People have lost their lives because of them. A pregnant woman and child has nearly died because of them. They have caused medical supplies to be delayed going down the M25 because they want to walk into oncoming traffic and block the roads. Can you see why this is extremely angering for me? Can you feel my frustration? I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who could. And I'm probably sure the people through there and through there have probably heard my frustration. But the point I'm trying to make is, these pricks do not give a shit about other people's lives. They are selfish, they are obnoxious, they are inconsiderate, they are downright dangerous, and most importantly, they are terrorists. And they should be classed as terrorists, and they should be punished as terrorists. The same way that those Islamic extremists went to Guantanamo Bay, like where the worst of the worst offenders go. Put them in for a session of Guantanamo Bay for a day and two. Oh, I guarantee they'll fucking stop after that. Because they won't dare want to risk going back there. Hit them where it hurts. Long jail sentences, huge fines, bankrupt the companies financing them. Because that's the only way they're going to stop. It's kind of sad it's gotten back into this again, bearing in mind this was all meant to be basically just on the back of, not Oppenheim, but where the fuck's the page? This is supposed to be about Just Stop Foil. Now, unfortunately, I have to dispose of this shit. I think I've got a good use of this. I think I can use it as a replacement toilet roll. I am getting rather low. Anyway, my point is that Extinction Rebellion must be treated as a terrorist group. The same applies for its little sister and brother companies. Insulet Britain, Just Stop Oil, Peter, if that's part of them, I don't know off the top of my head. But basically, any of these motherfuckers that are formed as a part of Extinction Rebellion need to be classed as terrorists. Their human rights need to be made forfeit the moment they are arrested, because they are committing criminal damage as well. Criminal damage, breaking the highway code, endangering lives, causing death, breaking injunctions. That's at least 5 charges they should be facing, yet most of them will only get 1, breaching the injunction. But as said, the mainstream media won't tell you this, because once again, say it with me, folks, it doesn't suit the narrative. As I said, I do not condone violence, but I do support this man for what he did. Because, frankly, these cunts deserve nothing less at this point. Any public outrage and any beatdown that they receive, they've only brought upon themselves. The police have been so incompetent, as they always are, at doing their job, that they have caused people to die. They have caused a pregnant woman and child to be in a car crash, which could have meant the deaths of 2 people, or 2 more people. They've caused the death of animals. They have caused the disruption of Wimbledon by throwing confetti over the courts. There was someone who did the same at a cricket match as well. Like, this is the thing. These cunts are the same people who say disruption is necessary. And yet, they're going about it in completely the wrong fucking way. This is why people have a universal hatred towards this group. And even more to the point, they have a universal hatred towards the police who don't do their job for the most part. The only reason they've started arresting people now, like on the spot, like there was, I think I'm going to link in the description below, We Got a Problems video on this. There was a trout who decided to walk on the road, took 6 steps, and then complained when she got arrested for breaking the highway code. And it's funny because she thinks that she's a victim. She thinks that she's trying to do her moral duty. The only thing she's doing is causing everyone to fucking hate her. And this is my personal advice to this woman. Stop supporting this group. Because you're only going to damage yourself. Ironically, I complain about the group being selfish. Here's my advice to you, lady. Personal advice. And probably the best advice you'll get. Be selfish. Get out of that group. Look after yourself. Because you're only going to screw yourself in the future. Because when they do something that causes the death of a child, because I know it'll fucking happen, the moment it causes the death of a child, these people, it's going to be like a powder keg full of dynamite sticks going off. All of the United Kingdom will come down on them so hard, all that'll remain of Extinction Rebellion will be the smouldering remains of their PR group. My name's Dabima, also known as Abatha X, and I am, of course, as always, very bad news for our lamestream media, our corrupt police and justice system, and most importantly, Just Stop Oil. The people who literally have no human empathy whatsoever. And of course, Extinction Rebellion. The people who allow this shit to happen. Who support this kind of shit. That support people going out of their way to ruin the lives of others or disrupt the lives of others. They're only alienating themselves, and they're going to get themselves in so much shit. And when they do, they won't be able to say, we're the victims here. They are the terrorists. They are the fucking terrorists. And unlike a lot of shills out there, I'm not backing down on what I've said. They could say, we're going to send fatwa squads after you. We're going to send the police to bankrupt you. We're going to get your bank account closed. They could do all of that. I'm not fucking changing my stance because you cunts are exactly what I've just said. Terrorists. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. And of course, most importantly, fuck the government.